Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. It's always our endeavor to go deep into the science of truth. That's what Sattology means. The opposite of that is mythology, which means the science of fake, lie, or imagination. It's so surprising that the Christian colonialists on India coined this term to undermine Indian Vedic heritage. But they do not want to use the word mythology on their own scriptures. They're fighting mythicists versus, I do not know, truth seekers, because they don't have any opposite word for mythology. But we have created it, Sattology. So today in the show, we are going to touch upon a very core topic, and that will remove all the scare out of the horror movies that you watch on Netflix or Amazon Prime or any other channel that you watch. So without delay, let us welcome a very good friend, a great author, poet, researcher, and also above all, a practitioner of what he speaks. The author of Gita Comes Alive. Without delay, Shri Jeffrey Armstrong.
Pranams. So good to see you again.
Same here. Always a pleasure.
Still telling the truth every day?
Hopefully.
Ah, well, discerning what is permanently real and what is not. I believe that's the para and the apara. The apara gives us apparent in English. It's apparently so.
Mhm.
Perhaps it's even true that someone appears to be our parent, but in fact, perhaps we're not from here. Perhaps we're just on a visitor's visa. This is what the yogis say.
Before we go into the para and paranormal or paranormal, before we need to establish what is normal first, because if we are not we don't understand what is normal, we do not know what is paranormal.
Well, let me give you the English definition. See that right angle? This is called a carpenter's normal.
That's right.
In the 60s, we used to say somebody was square. So if you're square, you're normal.
Right.
You're at right angles and you're in the box. And as I like to say, boxes are obnoxious.
That's right.
So you're either in the box, maybe, or you're out of the box. Which would you rather?
I was studying the pattern of the world, the seasons changes and the directions, and I found out that the GMT, the Greenwich Meridian Time, is in a most obnoxious placement. It is like you have to change the clocks every time to determine what is a day or what is a night. That's how it has been set up. So that is the first thing I would say is abnormal right there.
Well, there's a word, kaleidoscope. The word calendar also. All of these are kala. So we need to be thinking, am I a timeless being trapped in time? Or am I an ephemeral being? And it's my nature just to disappear at a certain point. This is the who I am question. And this question is at the very basis of our conversation.
That's right.
Because there has to be something at the very center of our experience that is both us and true.
True. So during my I have been having so many discussions with various astronomers from all over the world now. The Surya Siddhanta establishes 00 meridian passing from Ujjain in India. And now Surya Siddhanta is the oldest work on calendars, to be precise, and also the geographical markings. Now, the entire theory of continent moving and colliding with each other, it looks like a total mythology. It's like a junkyard of assumptions. Like too many assumptions are being made. The Himalaya is rising because the continent is colliding, but we do not see India leaving a mark of sand while it is moving north. Throughout the the creation we see, the Earth's movement and also the geography of the Earth, we do not see any sign of receding, any continent moving away. So Africa should recede more, India should recede more, and whole the theory of tectonic shifts is a big lie. What do you have to say on that? Because it's abnormal, totally abnormal.
Well, I also want to ask everyone, so does your paycheck come first and then you do the work? Or do you do the work and then the paycheck comes? So it appears that we're living inside of some kind of strange time delay where the outcome and the action are connected but disconnected by time. So what do you think about that? What do you think about calendar, about what time's doing to us? Time's bullying us, it appears, because everything seems to be constrained by time and timing. So perhaps we are trapped in time. Perhaps that's what we're experiencing here.
See, I would like to give a shout out to Sridharan CR, who gave a wonderful comment on YouTube for the last video, Persona Non Grata. And he said, simply stupendous. My deepest respects to you in this superb discourse. Thank you for liking it, Sridharan. And thank you for, if you want to get a book, get Gita Comes Alive of Jeffrey and see it. And if you want to search Sattology in Amazon, and you'll get all the 7 books. Now, I had to give the shout out because based on a promise we have given to the YouTube. So coming back to a discussion, the 00 meridian, if we calculate the time, so we are going to the normal time cycle and normal seasons, then we'll come to the soul, Atma. I'll not use the word soul ever, and Atma, and then we'll come to paranormal. So even in the time, if the today's time was again calculated from 00 meridian, that is passing from Ujjain down to the Lanka and goes to the Uttar Kuru, the seasons, nobody has to change the clocks, nobody, and they have to recalibrate the sunrise and the sun moon, but clock changing business will stop completely. So right there, the abnormality of time or paranormality of the time is right brought into our lives by the colonial powers. What do you have to say on that, sir?
This is all part of something that we've been in the midst of with essentially the religions of Western civilization, especially Catholic Church and others like them, declared themselves the truth source. And their primary language is Latin. Now, it's very clear historically that truth has come into Latin through Greek and into Greek through Sanskrit. But this simple truth is the one that has been being denied by all the major universities, Oxford, Harvard. There's been this colonial struggle to deny the primacy of these languages and cultures. But the thing is, all of this calculation of time is happening in Sanskrit because of Sanskrit's precision. And when you realize the degree of astronomical precision that was present in the Vedic culture for thousands and thousands and thousands of years before we now lay claim to being smart enough to figure all this out, then the credibility of the culture, your whole view of it just transforms. You see that essentially Sanskrit's a programming language, and that calculation of time was one of the first things that the Vedic civilization said is a necessary part of our being here. So these truths are so self-evident once you see them, and yet they've been ignored for so long.
Yeah, we see every day ourselves in the mirror. And when a person dies, and and I'm being very optimistic here, not a pessimistic thought, everyone has to go. That is a reality of the world. then the body is immediately sent to the cremation. So what we saw in the mirror, we never actually saw. Whatever I saw in the mirror, we never saw. And that is the normal experience. So why people are so scared of paranormal then? So what is the background of paranormal?
Well, maybe, Adi, it's the same reason why instead of cremating, they buy them an apartment in a funeral somewhere in a graveyard. And isn't it strange that our ancestors are all kind of waiting underground with formaldehyde in their veins and an old suit that they bought 100 years ago? What are they waiting for? A party? I mean, so isn't this the paranormal? I mean, I'm asking you all, isn't this weird that we have them all waiting underground and someone's going to come and play a trumpet? And what are they're all going to jump up and go, wow, it's good to be out of that box. Oh, I'm feeling good. That's one possible reality. But that's superstitious. That's, ooh, anything could happen. Ooh, who knows? Maybe they'll all come back. Or maybe they'll come back and what? Do they need that body still? I mean, I can't even believe sometimes the magnitude of the ignorance of putting someone's body in the ground and keeping it. I mean, have you ever been to a party where they take all the dead people out of the ground? So no wonder people are superstitiously afraid of what they do not understand and know, because they don't understand who we are. At the root of this tree is a self-definition that's wrong. This is the actual Sat. And the Sat is to understand how things really are.
Another story which comes in the mind, which plays upon the fear. Now, this is a fear mongering that that they are trying to scare you. That what the unseen you have not seen is very ghastly. So better not believe in it. It's like an ostrich mentality. Like an ostrich tries to save itself from predator by putting the head under the ground, but the rest of the body is up. So are we living in that world? So when somebody is trying to tell you, scare you with a paranormal activity, which is actually denying your own existence in a way. So they are saying, okay, this is this, and the same stories come with zombie. Like this is the and these are the movies most watched on Netflix. Zombie movies. People are coming out. This is the most hilarious thing. you know just to give an idea to people, a body decays in 25 days. Only bones remain. Nobody can stand up. And after that, the bodies become the food for the worms, and it is already spit out as part of their stool and all kinds of excreta they have. I don't want to go there. So that is the reality of the body, what goes into the soil. Whether you burn it or you hang it, there are traditions which hang the body. I've lived in Mumbai, as I'm from that part of India, and there are agyari, we call it, where the bodies are hung in a well. And in South Bombay, even today, that practice is allowed in India because that's the religious tradition of the Parsis, the original Iranians who ran away, who were thrown away from there. And that is an accepted. So body can be up. Some people, they throw the body in the rivers. That is an ancient tradition of in India as well as in South America. And even the Native Americans used to do that. That is, so body can be thrown anywhere because ancient people were far more intelligent than what we are made to be. We are made dumber day by day. What is your view on that, sir? I know you have some special comments there. You're smiling. So I know.
Well, let's tie another Sanskrit word into this that's very interesting. And the word is vritti. The word vritti occurs in the Yoga Sutras. Yogas chit vritti nirodha. Vritti is the origin of the word in English, vortex. It's a twistedness that takes place. So think of this body as woven out of threads of matter that are all twisted together, just as if you were sewing something and making knots. So the simple way, just like this clothing. If you understand, say, oh, great shirt, I didn't make it. Somebody twisted all this fabric together. These are threads all twisted together. So everything within matter is twisted threads that have an existence that's temporary, but they are not going to stay as they appear, nor are they what they appear. So this is the world of what's called apara. We call it appearance. So here things are not what they appear to be. It's apara, prakriti. It's the realm where everything is not what it appears to be, but it's actually twisted together. So yoga's vritti nirodha. Yoga is to take the twistedness out that has come by associating with matter and to restore our understanding of ourselves as an immortal being that cannot die. Now, in Christianity, they took that word vritti and called the devil the adversary, and they made it into some kind of game where this evil being is trying to get everyone. And this personifying of it led us to something. Of course, there are people who are bad players, but in Sanskrit, those are called sura and asura, against the light or working with the light. So when we understand our true nature, we don't identify with all of this twistedness that is the necessary component of weaving matter together. Yoga's chit vritti nirodha. Yoga is getting rid of those twists. Now, orbiting and vrittis are the same thing, which is why our DNA is a double helix. We're all twisted together. So, ladies and gentlemen, are your knickers in a twist? Perhaps you've been associating yourself with prakriti, with matter.
There is a very common Sanskrit shloka, Ashcharyavat, Krishna tells Arjun that some describe it as amazing, some call it as amazing, some people think of it as amazing, but and there are some who never understand it at all. And he's talking about the Atma, 2.29. Very, very important instruction by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Now, here he's making a fun of all of us. Here, sometimes call Bhagavad Gita is a book of absolute fun, absolute comedy, where Bhagwan is giving us knowledge, at the same time laughing at our stupidity. That how we are muda, becoming muda and vimuda. When he says mudam na bhijanati, like only the fools deride me when I appear as a human. Now, but these movies and all these paranormal stuff which is being talked about, which is according to me is pretty normal, and according to you is pretty normal, it's all based on one concept, aham brahmasmi, that I'm an atma, and there is a para brahma, which is again the word para comes from there, beyond. So what is your view on that? How foolish they have we been made by these people?
There's a truth that's gotten mixed up in this, Adi. And of course, it's the sura and asura. But if you all go back to the source of the light, living in the light or living in the dark, then there are two kinds of superpowers that you can have. One is the power from not being entangled and tied up in knots, tied up in vrittis. And the other one is to take everyone else's power so that you can have as much power as you can possibly have. In other words, you can either accept graciously that you're an immortal being living in a temporary world, or you can try to take everyone else's energy and live as long as you can live youthfully and being powerful and being healthy. So imagine that you realize that the only way you're going to be healthy is to have health food And the only health food is healthy people. You must eat them all. The breakfast of champions. This is called Asura. Asura then becomes Rakshasa. There are beings who make this decision. They decide, I get it. I need to eat everyone else to get their energy. I mean, isn't this what we call food? So just the last step of degradation within matter is when you realize that the best food for staying here and being powerful is to eat humans. So this isn't a fantasy, this is real. There are some humans that come to that conclusion and have historically. The Vedic culture knows about this. And at the same time, they realize that those paranormals, you could call it, you'll become paranormal if you become a monster and you live upon others. So this is real, and somewhere on our planet right now, people are doing this. And in ancient times, they also did. So this is the actual, not superstitious conflict, but the actual scientific conflict, which is essentially that people will use science to destroy the world, or people will use science to live in harmony with the world. And you'll have a diet that is respectful of other living entities and stay healthy, or you'll try to literally eat their power, eat their energy. Term for that is Rakshasa, the ones who eat others to be strong. Whereas the Devas are those who live in the light, and so they use the solar energy to be strong.
You know, uh, the actual shloka is very, very deep into this paranormal stuff, which is really making a, what do you call it, a cosmic fun of all of us. And I know you have a different definition of cosmic also. We will talk about it some other session. Ascharyavat pachyati kaschidena, ascharyavat vaditi tathaiva chanya, ascharyavat chanya manya shrunoti, shrutva pavina vedana kachaiva kash. Even if you're telling them, still people are surprised. And the fear has been built of the next life. What will be your next life? So better live like an ostrich. Don't believe in next life. Just live and keep your head under the ground, but rest of the body is still outside. So how, now when we talk about paranormal versus normal here, so how this abnormality is being instituted, like the propaganda has been so strong that everyone is trying to living in this surprised way. Like I tell them, okay, you look into a mirror, do you ever become surprised of how you're looking? Never. You accept yourself as it is. In fact, you spend thousands of dollars in making your face look beautiful. We buy beautiful clothes, but we do not invest anything for our own self, which is something inside the body. How is this stupidity of this current life? How is it being spread so much? What is your view on that?
There's a question, Adi, that everyone should be trained to ask first. And that is, why are we resisting obvious processes of nature? Everything is aging, we see that everything is moving in the direction of going back to where it came from physically, that is to say, that none of these bodies are permanent. So then why don't we have an explanation for that? Why don't the religions of the world, I'm talking about the one lifetime religions, why don't they address this? They don't. So why are we here? How did this happen? How did we come to be within matter? What are we learning here? That's why I call this place the university. We're here learning. So what do we learn? Well, we're learning that we don't want to be here, obviously, and that we can't stay here. Raise your hand if you think you could stay forever in the current body you're in. No. Raise your hand if you think your clothing will never wear out. No. Okay. So now go to the logical conclusion. Our civilizations haven't. The entirety of Western civilization is afraid of this question. Christian religion is entirely afraid of this question, and entirely superstitious and irrational when it comes to talking about it. because they don't talk about the self being here on a journey, choosing to be here. Because to do that, we have to define the self as the consciousness within the body. This is the Sat. And the Asat is all of this changing part. It's not that it's unreal. That's the wrong word to use in English. It's real, but it's temporary. Why do we object to the process? Because we're real, but we're immortal.
According to Pew Research, and I'm going by the 2017 report of religions in North America, uh, approximately 30% of Americans, and I'm taking a conservative estimate because there'll be much more, and Pew Research is a very highly modified report. It is not doesn't show you the real data, but okay, giving them some credibility, I'll just quote them as it is. 30% are called agnostic. Now, agnostic, according to the Pew Research, are those who do not believe in the book-based faiths. Now, agnostic English meaning is something else, but according to them, people who believe in reincarnation or believe in the Eastern traditions, they won't classify them as either Hindu, Sanatani, Buddhist, nothing. They classify them as agnostic. So what is the real meaning? What are they thinking when they classify them as agnostic then?
Well, Gnostic is the Greek of jnana. So the ones that are called agnostics are the ones who are beginning to practice jnana, which means they're thinking for themselves. They're using their buddhi, and they're going, well, wait a minute, look at this, and look at this, and look at that, and look at that. They're not accepting. Now, this is a very interesting word. Adi, tell us what the word para means in Sanskrit.
Para means beyond. Beyond.
So, did you know that Christianity has a whole book of things called parables?
Yes.
Well, but what is beyond that? What are they telling us? There should now be a books of description of what para is, of what it's like to go beyond, and who we are and why we're here. So this is the most fundamental thing. If you had amnesia, and I was talking to you and trying to help you get back to remembering where you've been before, got hit over the head, I would gradually lead you to what you remember, where do you come from, did you hear this, did you see that? So what religion is supposed to explain to everyone through their parables is the reality that is beyond the temporary. The reason we're upset about being here is that we're from beyond here. And look, we even called our parents parent. So these Sanskrit words are all mixed in with English, but we just don't understand how to look at them. So what if each one of us is an immortal being with amnesia? I call it I amnesia. What if we have I amnesia? Come on, wake up, wake up, wake up. That's why you don't want to die, because you can't. That's why you don't remember coming here, because this place makes you forgetful. Then could it be that enlightenment is a waking up and a remembering? So then what's the term for that which made us forget? Well, it's called gu in Sanskrit, Gu. And what do you say? What's the name of the person, Adi, that helps us wake up?
That is Guru.
That would be the remover of your gu. So let's keep it simple, folks. This is gu. We're covered in gu. Nice shirt, yeah, but it's gu. It's not me, you see. Somewhere inside there is me, the consciousness, the one who's wearing the shirt. This is the thing that we need to start with. Who are you? It's a wonderful line in Alice in Wonderland. When the caterpillar goes A, he's got a hookah and he blows smoke and he goes A, E, I, O, U. Who are you? You're gradually waking up. You're seeing the most important question. It's
No,
amazing that it's so difficult to get people just to address the most important question.
people don't ask. See, the two most tiring questions for me. One is the most difficult to answer, and the second one is the most boring question. One is who are you and how are you? Very difficult to answer unless when somebody says, how are you? Now, where should I start now?
How are you? Well, I'm stuck in the goo today. I don't know. I think it was yesterday too. So why have we gone on this adventure, ladies and gentlemen? This is what you should be asking yourself. Why have we gone on this adventure? All these scary stories and all these stories about horrible things are just distractions from the real question. Why are we here in the midst of this beauty and this wonder? And it's like being dropped down inside a science museum. And you see all of these exhibits spinning and turning and doing amazing things. Shouldn't we conclude that an amazing intelligence is the inventor behind all of that? And shouldn't we sort of wake up like amnesiacs and go, okay, help me again? Matter makes you forgetful. And people are exploiting your ignorance and forgetfulness to get what they want because they've decided to become a Sura. They've decided to keep you asleep and take everything they can get that belongs to everyone. But don't ever ask the question who you are, because that's the problem question. That's the heresy. So you'll notice that religion is designed to not ask and answer that question.
So actually, the paranormal means now, according to our discussion now, paranormal means that not asking the normal questions now about our identity. So that's what it's coming out to be now. So paranormal is not the ghostly stories and the horror movies. Paranormal, the biggest paranormal is you are not trying to find out your own identity. That's paranormal, isn't it?
And the rest of it is just it is true that humans can become monsters. That's true. And that means, but monster means they just take more and more and more and more and more until they're the eaters. Literally, they look at everything and think, I'm going to eat that. I'm going to get that. I'm going to take that. That's for me. So you might call it selfishitis. It's a kind of, you don't have a self, you have a selfish. And the hunger to know who you really are becomes the hunger, the insatiable appetite to get all of the matter for yourself because no one's going to give it to you, so you've got to take it. This is Rakshasa. This is Asura. This is real.
So Parashakti and Aparashakti, two concepts in Bhagavad Gita. And now paranormal we have already discussed, and you can call it paranormal or whatever you pronounce it, is up to you. But aparanormal, what will be that be then?
So now we have to change our frame of reference, I guess.
That's right.
Because it appears that here everything is temporary.
Yeah.
It's ephemeral. Oh, but ephemeris is the passage of a day in time. So everything is passing through time. So the Vedic civilization said, okay, let's clearly look at what the effect of time is. It's a cycle. And now, what's the constant inside of that? Well, you're going to eventually have to say who you are. But if none of these particles are going to last, then who's at the very center of that? Then this is what is apparent, apparent, apara. Oh, my parent is apparently my source, but not. Just conspired together to make a body, but they don't even know how. Who are my teachers? Or persons who are trapped in the same way that I am. And what are they teaching me? Basically, how to take things from matter, how to become a taker, unless they're teaching me something else. So who's in charge here? And who's building this universe around us all the time? What is the constructive creative force? How do I cooperate with that? Why doesn't our education turn out cooperators? Why do we turn out corporations instead? Corporations are just another name for, a cleaned up name for colonization. Corporation is colonization. So literally we live on a planet where the normal is taking what you can get and not thinking about future generations or the balance in the system around you. You should really ponder this and realize that in a myriad of ways we've been led astray. If I'm just asking the first honest, simple question, then do I not want to die because I'm an immortal being? Could that be the secret? Adi, help me out here.
You don't need any help from anyone, Jeffrey. You're going to help everyone else. But the point, another aspect I'll bring into it, the fear psychosis is the fear that has been sold to us, and we buy it every day. Every day.
Amen.
Yeah, every day. If you don't do this, that this is going to happen. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. But centuries people have lived, and people who have not defended themselves against the fear sellers, these are the sellers in the marketplace of fear. If you don't drink this milk, you'll have this deficiency. Well, why should I buy milk from there when I can get a fresh milk from my own cow? Important question. Let's think about it. Why, if you can't grow vegetables in your backyard? Why? If why should, instead of growing in my backyard, why should I buy from your backyard? Number one thing. Logic. So we have been sold fear, and we live, and then we are sold double fear as an entertainment, paranormal on the TVs. Like twice we are being sold the fear. So this cycle of, and let me tell you, the supply demand economics works. If there is a buyer, there will be sellers. So if the buyers change their attitude, the sellers will have to change their products. It's very simple there in today's economy.
And this is what we really have to start learning to see, that it take only civilization. Every civilization that is still dedicated to the premise of colonization, which is just to extract. Think of it as an extracting civilization. It doesn't give back, it just extracts. It doesn't tell the truth to people. It makes them afraid. Religion makes you afraid and goes, oh, you'll go to hell, you'll do this. It's all just fear-mongering. The way you should be approached is with respect. Well, namaste, you're an immortal being. Yes, we all decided to come here and have this experience. So how should we do it? Why don't we cooperate? Sure, that sounds like a good idea. Let's all work together. So this has been labeled various negative names because it makes people harder to manipulate and control. But the first thing you should be told by someone who really cares for you is that you're an immortal being and that you simply cannot die. And until you know that, you'll be afraid, because that's what fear is. The root of fear is a misunderstanding of who you are. And who you are, first and foremost. First place, the Bhagavad Gita, Arjun's all confused and he's upset. And Bhagavan says, Dehinosmin yata dehe, komaram yovanam jara, tata dehantaras praptir, diras tatra namuyate. He says, you can't die. You're an immortal being, you're an Atma. You go from childhood to youth to old age, you change clothes, you get another body. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're afraid of that process, that fear will be manipulated by others, and that's called enslavement, colonization, keeping you afraid. And so this is the religions of the Western civilization have capitalized upon this. Essentially, it's the basis of their whole approach. First, make everyone afraid, then tell them you have something that'll cure them. Yoga is just the opposite. First thing yoga says is your fear is needless. You can't cease to exist. So relax, breathe better.
Now,
Ooh, you better already.
coming to the point here, coming to the point again, you mentioned the word dhira, dhiras tatrana muyati. Now that's an opposite of fear, and a very famous author in the past and great saint Rupa Goswami said, Vacho Vega Manasa Krodha Vega Jiva Vega Itarupast Eva Etanya Veganya Vishaheta Dhira Sarvam Apivam Presvita Shishya. Now he gave a very beautiful process. He says, Vacho Vega, controlling the urges to speak, controlling the urges of the mind, anger, Udarupastha, stomach, genitals. Now, when we control these, you actually move beyond the fear psychosis which is being sold to you again and again. Isn't that true? And dhiras, this is how you become dhira. And nobody wants you to become dhira. Nobody wants you to become fearless. Because if you become fearless, you are not going to buy the products. Isn't that such straight away connects to another Bhagavad Gita talk about Asura when Krishna says Artha Sanchayan is the only goal they have, just to collect Artha or money and land. There's a joke in the Africa. Earlier we had the land, they had the Bible. Now they have the land and we have the Bible. That's a very common joke over there. This was told by Desmond Tutu. So, so they hear the definition of dhira, which is opposite of fearful person, which is again normal versus paranormal. So, how do we now? Your closing comments on this? We're at the top of the hour. What do you think on this solution, which is given by ancient sages that we have?
If we start some kind of political movement, it needs to have a new premise, or nothing is really going to change. So we don't really start at the political level. We start at this level. At this, if I can, I could just say to you, please join the Namaste culture. Just from now on, as you walk down the street, just do this to people as you see them walking by. You don't have to say anything. You could say Namaste if you want, but you could just do this. You're addressing the real them. And do you see that this is what's missing in our world? We don't just look at everyone and say, oh, tell me who you are. Wouldn't that be easy? Do we have to make it so difficult? What if we simply see every living entity as an immortal being? Their consciousness is inside of their body, and they're trying to exist here like us. The twistedness of the vritti, this is why yoga is simply removing all of the twistedness. If you can just walk away from this talk and never again forget that you're the Atma and that everyone is, and just begin to address everyone that way. First and foremost, yourself. Get up in the morning and reestablish yourself as the Atma, not as the physical. Reestablish yourself as an immortal being, visiting the realm of the temporary. Let us have this become a movement. This is a dharmocracy where every person is an entity, and that entity is an Atma, and that Atma is immortal. So everyone then, we start out, it's not a communism. We're not the same as each other materially. We're the same as each other intrinsically. So we start there, and then we work with our individual material being to cooperate with the laws of nature. So the next thing is cooperation with the laws of nature, but they have to be purposeful. So this is the devas and the devis. This is the divine intelligence distributed throughout nature. And then we cooperate with that, and we move forward from there.
Great point. And I think we are Dharmocracy, we need to talk one more time. We'll say Dharmocracy and Lokatantra, which is important concepts. And some politicians have quoted your term again and again. So Thank you, Jeffrey, for your time. And I really enjoyed the conversation and the kind of feedback that we are getting for the last show, persona non grata. Please keep it up, share it, and stop using that term. Thank you. Namaskar.